All right, everybody. It's the Combatcast, and we are live. We're going to talk UFC 305 today, mainly. Before we get to that, let's talk about our great sponsor, Chevy.
That's right. We like to thank Game Up for sponsoring the podcast. They make a great hard hydration drink with a special blend of electrolytes, keep you hydrated. It comes in 4 great flavors: fruit punch, lemon lime, grape, and orange.
That's right. Only 110 calories, full flavor, low carb. Enjoy yourself, Game Up, and enjoy what we got coming up. Tell them about it, Chevy.
August 24th, UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Barajo. That's a big step up for a cow. And then August 31st, that's Labor Day weekend here in the States. UFC's taking a break for the holiday, so we'll be reviewing that card. And then September 7th, UFC Fight Night, Burns versus Brady. September is looking pretty good with Noche, and this fight night, it should be a pretty good month for fights.
Yeah, I mean, Noche is going to be like the big deal, too. I mean, Marab and O'Malley. It's a good opportunity for those guys. I mean, at the end of the day, I know some people were, because Dana hyped it up so much just to be the biggest card ever, but that's still going to be a lot of eyes on some potential new stars to break through there.
Yeah, very good matchmaking. Maybe not necessarily the names you would expect from the biggest card ever, according to Dana, but also this is Riyadh season, they're calling it. So this is all Saudi money. So I expect a very impressive production. Whether the fights are the best names or not, the production will be great.
Yeah, I think stylistically they're hoping the fights deliver, because I think they're expecting like one of the biggest productions ever for not just the UFC but beyond. So expectations are high for the production level of this. So we shall see, and that's going to be an amazing card. But let's get to this past weekend's card real quick. Chevy, why don't you just give us the results of the co-main event and main event? And
all right, this card was as trash as predicted. Mariscal won. He beat Damon Jackson. He looked pretty good. And then Tibera got armbarred by Spivak very early on in the fight. So Spivak got the second win. Maybe we'll see a trilogy down the line. I can't wait.
Yeah, one can only hope.
Let's move on to the card that I am very excited for.
Yes. Let's get to UFC 305. DDP versus the Last Style Bender. I'm super excited mostly for this main event, but this is a fun little card. Let's get to it. Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, prelims. Keep an eye out for Jack Jenkins. He's broke like 3 or 4 of his opponent's legs with leg kicks, which is an absolutely incredible stat. He broke one guy's leg and his jaw in the same fight. Not in the UFC, but he's a monster. So keep an eye out for him. He's fighting Herbert Burns. Good luck to Herbert Burns. I think this is going to be a showcase for Jack Jenkins, unfortunately for Burns. Also, Casey O'Neill versus Launa Santos. That's a good fight on the prelims. And then Junior Taffa, younger brother of Justin Taffa, is fighting Walter Walker, who is Johnny Walker's younger brother. And is also a KO artist. So
what weight class is that?
It's got to be heavyweight, yeah.
That's what I was thinking,
heavyweight, yeah. So
yeah, I had never seen Johnny Walker before, so I was just making sure. But yeah, wow, interesting.
And that all leads into this excellent main card, starting off with Li Jingliang versus Carlos Prates.
All right, Prates. Carlos is 19-6. He's 14. He got 14 KOs, TKOs, 3 subs, only 2 decisions. He's on a 9-fight win streak. He's 2-0 in the UFC and a win in the Contender Series in his last 3 fights, and all have been finishes. This will be his biggest step up, though, because Li Jingliang is fought them all, really. He's fought a lot of the best. He's 19-8, 10 KOs, 4 subs, 5 decisions, 4 fight at night 2 times. He's tied with Thiago Alves and Vicente Luque for the second most knockouts in UFC welterweight history. Okay, so he comes to play. He's definitely had stronger competition, but this is a chance for Carlos to beat that guy that could put him to that next level. I'm going to go with Carlos. I think Carlos is going to rise to the occasion here at just a gut feeling. He's on a great knockout win streak. I think this is going to be a brawl. I think these two are going to bring it. And as I say that, now I'm going to back off. I'm going to go to Leach. I'll go into Leach, second round TKO.
Lee hasn't fought in 2 years. So hopefully he's healed up and feeling refreshed, because it seems like Carlos Prates is a very dangerous guy, as you were talking about. I'm pulling for Li Jingliang, but I know he's not afraid to get into a war, and I feel like this is not the guy that you probably want to get into a war with. I'm sure he's, confident because he's a great power striker in his own right, but I think my head says Prates by KO in round 2. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. You know what? Why don't I talk myself out of it? Chevy, you're right. All right.
All right. Let's go from one hopeful knockout to another hopeful knockout. Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
All right. Jairzinho is 14-5, 13 KOs and 1 decision. I laugh because Tai Tuivasa is 14-7, 13 KOs and 1 decision. Both of these guys are not going to have a lot of submission offense. If it goes to decision, it'll probably be ugly. But I think we will probably get a KO here. I would say Rozenstruik is probably the more technical of the two. Tai's in his hometown. Tai's lost 4 straight, though. Tai was on a great roll, and that just seems to be Tai's career, right? Like, he just gets on a roll, and then he goes into these slumps. I'm going to root for the home guy. I'll go with Tai Tuivasa, round 2 TKO, but this could go either way.
Yeah, I'm with you that if this fight goes to decision, it probably means it was not a great fight. So hopefully we don't see that. And I agree with you. Also, Jairzinho would be smart to stay technical and disciplined and not get into a war. Tai needs to draw him into a war. And I think he's going to do that because he's very good at it. So I think he does that, and I'm going to pick Tai by round 2 KO.
All right, let's
and
keep
then
it rolling.
I can't wait to see him do 1,000 shoeys with all the Aussies in the crowd.
If we're right and we have 2 second-round TKOs in the first fight, first 2 fights of this card, and this next fight.
Yeah, Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Hooker.
Yeah, this could be fight at night right here. Hooker, 23-12, 11 KOs, 7 submissions, 5 decisions, performance of the night 3 times, fight of the night twice. Gamrot, this guy right here, 24-2-1, 8 KOs, 5 subs, 11 decisions, 2 times, performance of the night, fight of the night twice. You get it here, guys. These guys like to bring it. They're both very good at what they do. They're both exciting fighters. I think Gamrot is probably the better of the two a little bit. Well, on paper, when you look at that record, but Hooker's fought a lot more quality competition. Hooker's also been in a lot more wars, probably, of the two.
Very true, very true.
So I'm sure Hooker's going to be fired up. He's one of those guys. He does bring it when he's going to fight in front of his people. It's just like an extra notch. It's weird. I almost feel like if this fight was anywhere else, I'd say Gamrot would win round 2. TK. I'm sticking with these round 2s. I'm going to keep it up for a good night for the Australians. Dan Hooker, round 2.
Yeah, damn. The UFC loves to give Dan Hooker the toughest fights.
Yeah.
Gamrot is a top 3 wrestler in the division for sure. He has a win over Arman Sarukian, and that's all you really need to know about him. That is ridiculous. So smart money is on Gamrot by decision. Yeah. But that being said, I just have a feeling, and that hometown crowd lends to this. I feel like Dan can break Gamrot. If he can continue to get up when he's taken down, because Gamrot's definitely going to take him down. If Dan can keep getting up, and then wear him out a little bit, I think he can beat him up on the feet. So I think that's what's going to happen. That's what I really want to happen. So I want to pick Dan. I think fight of the night possibly, and we get a war, and Dan wins by decision, though. Just shows his guts like he always does. Toughs out a win.
All right. We'll still see.
All right. Co-main event: Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg.
Yeah, I had to.
This is flying under the radar. This is actually very good matchmaking.
Kai Kara France, I had to look up because I wrote down that he was 24-1-1. He's 24-11-1.
That's right.
So he's 24-11-1, and he's got 8 KOs, 5 subs, 11 decisions, performance of the night twice, fight of the night twice. And then you have Steve Erceg here, who's 12-2, 2 KOs, 6 subs, 4 decisions, 3-1 in the UFC. His only loss was in a world title fight, though. He got kind of propelled kind of early there, and he did well. He had his moments in that fight. It's kind of funny because I feel like he got rushed into that situation a little bit, and maybe in some ways that benefited him. It wasn't like we really knew what he was all about. Now we do. And I feel like Kai Kara France knows, going into this fight, how good Steve Erceg is. So that being said, I think Kai Kara France, who's had a lot more fights in the UFC, I think he's going to pull this out. Again, I don't know. Maybe it's just a feeling. I feel it's going to be a good night for the Australian boys. I'm going to go Kai Kara France. Just won't be by decision, though.
Yeah, Kai has 2 losses in a row, but like you were saying, versus those top tier guys. So that being said, I thought that Erceg could have gotten the nod over Pantoja in that loss. So I think I'm a big fan of both of these guys, but I think I'm going to pick Erceg by decision. I think it'll be close. I'd be happy with either guy winning for sure, but I just want to see a good fight. But I'm going to pick Erceg by decision. All right, main event. I'm very excited for this one. Dricus DuPlessis versus Israel Adesanya for the middleweight belt.
All right. Israel Adesanya, 24-3, 16 KOs, 8 decisions, former 2-time UFC middleweight champion. He had 5 successful title defenses during his first reign. He was an interim middleweight champion too. Most knockdowns in UFC title fight versus Kelvin Gastelum. This guy, performance of the night 6 times. He's just one of the most exciting fighters in UFC history. That's not to say he's never had a few stinkers out there, but most of his fights, end with him finishing people in very exciting fashion. Dricus DuPlessis, DDP, 21-2, 9 KOs, 10 subs, 2 decisions. Here's a guy who's done it the right way. He beat all the top contenders, including Robert Whittaker. And next thing you know, he's fighting Sean Strickland for the title. They had a classic back and forth fight that could have gone either way. DDP gets his hand raised, and it creates this opportunity now with Adesanya, the biggest star in the middleweight division, versus the champion. So we got Adesanya here, who has a chance to really cement his legacy even more by winning this Saturday and taking this title. Or DDP really cements his stature as a top middleweight when he start entering the record books. It's just the beginning for him. He's not just a footnote as a one-time champion. He can really build on that legacy. And it's a tough fight to tell because the last fight we saw Adesanya, he really got worked by Strickland. And DDP, even if you didn't think he won that fight, it was incredibly close.
Yeah,
so
I didn't think he won that fight.
Right, but it was a close fight.
It was close.
Yeah, much better than he performed way at a better level than Adesanya did. Now,
for sure.
That being said, was Adesanya beat up going into that fight? There was talk he had knee injuries. Adesanya had fought so many times in the last few years. Was this breakaway what he really needed? I'm going to go with yes, because Adesanya has shown one thing. He's not really the type to make excuses, and he's also showed he's very strong mentally. That doesn't mean that's going to be enough, because DDP has rose to the occasion every time so far. So it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a real knockdown, drag out fight, almost like the Kelvin Gastelum fight with Adesanya. I'm going to go Adesanya. I think Adesanya's got one more road here. I think he's going to win here, and then I think we're going to see that rematch with Strickland, and I think maybe he gets it done there, and then who knows? He's probably got maybe 1 or 2 fights left in him after that.
I saw Brennan Schaub predicted a prime Izzy to come in and destroy Dricus, and I think I'm actually going to agree with him on this. I don't know if you've seen him lately. Physically, he looks tremendous. Dan Hooker also. Look, their camp is definitely dialed in. Physically, they look great. I agree with you. I think taking the year off, because while that may not seem like it's a long time when you're thinking about the Stipe's or the John Joneses who take years and years off, Adesanya is incredibly active, especially as a champion. He fought so many times those last few years, and that wears on you. And also, he's just beating guys over and over again. You overlook Sean Strickland a little bit. You don't realize that pressure, and he's inside that distance. Izzy is great when you're at the end of his punches, but Strickland doesn't. He gets inside of that. So I think maybe he underestimated that, and he couldn't really keep him off him. So he'll learn from that. So Dricus, very powerful striker, we know. Awkward technique for sure. But Israel's a glory champion, been kickboxing forever. He's seen a lot of those things. So I see it going this way. I see Dricus winning round 1. He's awkward, unorthodox, lands a couple times, but not too much happens. And then Izzy gets that timing down, and he pretty much dominates from 2 through 5. The only thing that could mess with that is if Dricus mixes in some takedowns. If he can take Izzy down and actually hold him down, he could stall out and win some rounds. But if the fight's on the feet, I think Izzy beats him up. I don't even think he finishes him. I think he just really embarrasses him on the feet. And I'm going to pick Izzy by decision.
I don't know if I actually said how I thought Izzy would win. I'm going to go Izzy actually with a 4th round TKO. I like you think it's going to be a later fight, but I do think Izzy will get that finish as time goes on.
Yeah.
So, hey, if we're right with these predictions, I think we're only talking about 1 or 2 decisions, and we're expecting exciting fights here. This should be a really, really good card stylistically on paper. We got this Saturday, so I'm excited for it.
Good prelims, too. Keep an eye out for Jack Jenkins.
All right. Tell people we got coming up one more time.
August 24th, UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Baralho. Big step up for Baralho. And then August 31st, we'll be reviewing that card. And then September 7th, starting the month off great with UFC Fight Night, Burns versus Brady.
All right, so some good stuff ahead. But the big thing is this weekend, UFC 305. Fans enjoy, and hey, enjoy some Game Up.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and